There's also possibly, as there always are, external factors. You know, we're in a different market nowadays. As the numbers show in New Zealand, it's definitely a buyer's market. We haven't got a huge amount of activity in transactions, not a huge number of buyers, but there's plenty of property on the market. So just picking up on your comment about not a lot of search on terms that would be looking for an agent, that could be a shift that comes, because if people are really wanting to get the best from their property, they need to find an agent who is really on the money, understands the nature, and they should be fighting for that search, even though there may not be a lot of them, about the best agent, capable agent.
Right, and you know, so not a huge volume, but obviously extremely important volume of demand for real estate agents in New Zealand who are all about getting leads to sell properties. I think your point, though, about the social sphere is really important. Facebook is going to be a big advertising platform for real estate agents. That seems, you know, without question to me.
Absolutely, yeah. And when you dive into some of the targeting that can be done within Facebook, some pretty incredible opportunities there to get not only geographically based but interest based, even you know, particularly like workplace, you know, all kinds of.
It's just highly filtered, highly targeted.
And in New Zealand,
highly targeted.
In New Zealand, we've started to see some kind of corporate level spend on that kind of advertising for the different agency groups. Not a lot at the office and agent level. I think some people are experimenting, but it's very early days.
I think the challenge for real estate agency is how these all fit together. You have SEO, SEM, social media, you have display advertising, you have a whole range of stuff. You know, there's a whole lot of platforms that you can play on.
Certainly more complex than in the past.
It is.
Then it was the weekly magazine. That was
correct.
It. Yeah.
And I think being and I think that the comment that was made before in one of the other sessions around all companies and our media companies is actually quite a poignant point here. So the question is, if you're a real estate agency today, how do you know, to bring this to something practical that they can do? I think in terms of attracting buyers, sites like realestate.co.nz, etc., are very good at achieving that outcome. In fact, are probably going to be much better at achieving that outcome than an individual agent or an individual office site. However, on the sell side, you have to flip the coin. I don't think sites like realestate.co.nz, etc., are the best way of doing that.
No, I agree that, and that's a mind shift for this industry, because everyone's always wanted to build a site, whether you're an individual agent office, and they just want to put the listings on the front page.
Correct.
And they want to put the listings front and centre. But to be honest, the people you want to attract, going back to your point, Charles, is you want to demonstrate why you should be selected as a professional agent who can do a better job than anyone else.
Market knowledge.
It is, and therefore that should be the front page in many ways.
Now, what's interesting is we're seeing now more and more offices are starting to think about their website as the hub. A website being three elements: the listings that they've currently got, because and have sold, both are quite important.
Yeah, as a demonstration of credibility.
Information about the business, especially about the salespeople. What's interesting, working with we have a web design business. I'm working with one of our customers. After the name of their office on Google, the second highest driver of traffic is their number one salesperson, where people are actually Googling the salesperson name. So you want to make sure you own, from a Google perspective, your salespeople's names. And then the third element is more of I'll call it a blog component, but it's the active conversation component, where you're positioning yourself as the expert on, I think, two dimensions: real estate in your suburb. So you want to be everything real estate and all about the suburb. So you can talk about cafes, shops, everything that's opening up.
That community, hyper-local.
And that real estate access. If that becomes the hub, and you optimise that site for lead conversion, which most agencies don't do. So someone hits that website and you're asking the question, are you thinking of selling your house? Would you like a free appraisal and such? Because what you want to do is get an email address out of it. The question is then driving traffic to that site. Now, it's if you just lived in the Facebook world or just lived in the Twitter world, you can't customise them, and you're actually at the whim of what Facebook wakes up and does one day.
And it's not your content. That's the other thing to realise.
Correct.
You need to own that content, that home that is your hub.
So while you are using Facebook, Twitter, etc., to engage people in a conversation, you want to be constantly driving them back to what you can control, which is your site. And using SEO and SEM, Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, YouTube, I don't care what it is.
But they're all pointing in.
All pointing in. Get them to that conversation
and then convert.
And then convert.
Yeah.
Because that's very timely. You know, the aspect of people searching to try and how can we get more traffic?
Yeah.
But traffic is not the determinant of success. It's an indicator of success, but until you convert, and that's what people want. They want leads. They want the phone to ring, or they want an inquiry to say, give me an appraisal. I'm interested. I appreciate what you can do.
And I would add, just to what Simon's saying, you know, you talked about content and community being core components of your website. I actually think there's 3 more things that as a brokerage or an agent should be thinking about if you have the resources to implement on your website. And one is data. We know that consumers are looking for data, market data specifically. Context. Meaning like what else is in the community, like so context and community, which are kind of intimately tied. So listings by themselves are great, data by themselves are great, but you need context, which comes to sort of community information. So what we're seeing more and more websites at a brokerage level or at a company level start to experiment with are really deep community pages that leverage the power of the web, some of the APIs that exist out there, bringing in restaurant reviews, bringing in education, school data and reviews, bringing in you know, multimedia aspects, videos of the communities. Because at the end of the day, someone who's researching, you know, a home purchase is not only looking for the listing, but as we all know, as I'm sure in our own lives when we've looked for the houses that we own, it's also about the community, it's about the neighborhood, it's about the school.
You want to buy the house, but you want to live somewhere,
so
and that's
providing that context to the listings is another thing that we're starting to see.
Selling the location and the attributes of the location, and then you can be the person that can best fill in the gaps to say what's the houses in this area and what's the market.
That kind of approach to content is a big part of owning that niche from an SEO point of view as well. And so you know, the big portals have that advantage of really authoritative sites and generally rank pretty well for a range of phrases. But if you're a local real estate agent and you focus hard on your local neighbourhood, the suburbs that you service, and bring in all those different elements of content, whether it be video and reviews, and really focus on that and focus on your local link profile, then you have an opportunity to potentially outflank even the big guys for those kind of longer tail local terms.
And take that to an example. And I think and Joel knows this one very well. The 365 things to do in Washington, in Vancouver, Washington. Dale Chumley set up a site there where once a day he puts up something interesting what's happening in the I think the community is 150,000 odd people.
About 100,000.
About 100,000 people.
150.
His
bedroom community of Portland.
Yep. So it's out there. And then what's really interesting is 12,500 followers on Facebook.
It's incredible.
And when you read about what's happening, he's now getting invited into listing conversations that he would never have been invited into before. And he didn't position himself as being a real estate agent. He positioned himself as being the hub of what's happening in that community.
The community expert.
Yeah.
And then now what's interesting is you then go and search 365 things full stop, and then on Google you've got Chicago, you've got all these hundreds of different communities where people are trying to replicate what's happened. But
well, maybe that's a clue for New Zealand. You haven't got 365 things to do in Timaru and Oamaru and Eketahuna.
We could get down to 99 perhaps.
Yes.
But the interesting thing is I bet there is.
Oh, no, it's not saying there aren't, but I don't think anyone's grabbed that in New Zealand, so maybe this is the outtake of today's opportunity. If you want to be a local expert, because, I mean, it's not only the authoritative content, but it is the richness and depth of content that Google will love.
Just, the one thing that I think is important to note about that particular strategy that's being employed there is that, really just to reinforce what Simon's saying, Dale is using Facebook as a promotion vehicle. The content is all stored and housed on his website.
Yeah.
So when you hit that page, you'll get a snippet, and you click through, and it'll take him to his site.
To your site, yeah.
So I think it's just important to reinforce that you don't want to be dumping that content into somewhere like Facebook.
No.
You need to be always bringing that back to
and you've got to
hub.
curate it in your own hub.
Yeah.
And that is the concept that I think the industry has to recognise and value, because it is about owning that content. And as you say, sort of creating those areas, those islands out there to which you can use those communities to point back in and get that traffic flowing back into your site and control it that way, but benefit from it that way as well.
Absolutely.
That's great. Thank you very much indeed, guys, for your contribution. Interesting discussion, and really appreciate it. Thank you.